I have with me Dr. Tiffany Jana, and she is the co-author of Subtle Acts of Exclusion, How to Understand, Identify, and Stop Microaggressions. Dr. Jana, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
And so I want to understand this idea of a exclusion, subtle acts of exclusion. So you were walking down the road one day and you thought, wow, I feel excluded. Let me write about it. I don't like this microaggression stuff. What is exclusion and what is microaggression?
So the microaggression is any act or word or deed, behavior that makes someone feel like they are otherized, like they are being pushed to the outside, like they don't belong, like they're a curiosity. And the purpose of the book, in part, was to rebrand the term microaggression to subtle act of exclusion. Microaggression has the word aggression built into it, and it puts people on the defensive, and there's really nothing micro about it. If it's you who's on the receiving end of it, it can feel enormous, and it can feel, very, very insulting and belittling. So the act might be subtle, but it is an act of exclusion that makes people feel like they don't belong.
And whose fault is it if a person is so weak they can be made to feel that way?
It's not always a matter of fault, because it is, I write mostly in the context of the workplace, right? So as an employer, any given employer has a responsibility to ensure the safety, psychological and physical, of the people who work within the workplace. So if every time I show up at a meeting as a female identified person, people talk over me, they disrespect the comments that I make, they assume that I'm going to take the notes because, I was assigned female at birth, they're constantly marginalizing me and putting me in a place that is less than their own status as men, for instance. So in the context of a workplace, these microaggressions or subtle acts of exclusion can have real world consequences and prevent people from being promoted and from having opportunities to really excel in their careers.
Amazing. And so let's say men and women are in a meeting, and we all know that men are stronger than women. Women are going to feel insecure anyway. How should the man deal with that insecure woman?
I will not agree with you and say that we know that men are stronger than women. My three ex-husbands would be evidence to the contrary. So I can tell you that society at large might share that narrative and promote that narrative. So what happens is you do get that gender minorities, women, non-binary people might inadvertently or intentionally play into a narrative that places us in that position. So that would be my first challenge. But what we do is first of all, we look at bias, not only at the individual level, but we look at it at the institutional level. So we want to make sure that our companies don't have systems, structures, and processes in place that support that kind of gender bias or any other kind of bias. So we have to check our leaders, we have to check our hiring managers, and make sure that the first thing that they're privileging is someone's qualification to do the job. And they're being assigned tasks based on their ability to do the task at hand, and it makes sure that it has nothing to do with their gender or gender assignment.
So you had 3 husbands?
I did.
And did you destroy them?
I did not destroy them. I gave them, I left them better than I found them.
Were they weak?
But they could not handle the strength that was me.
Oh.
We were not compatible in that way. In their mind, they might have assumed that women were submissive or were weaker, and that is certainly not the case with me.
What was strong? What is it about you they could not handle?
I think it was different in each case, but I would say that as people evolve, like you might find somebody in one place. For me, one of the definitions of love is to embrace someone with so much grace and compassion that you want to grow along with them, alongside them, but you allow them the freedom to grow into the person who they are meant to be. higher power, spirit, God, whatever you want to call it, put me here on a mission to help heal and liberate hearts and minds all over the world. And so my light cannot be hidden under a bushel and shown only on one person who wants to keep that for them. I have to be in the world, professing my testimony, doing what I do, sharing my inspiration and insight, because that's what I'm here to do. So in each various iteration, the way that I show up in the world proved to be a little bit overwhelming for people who would be my partners.
And were all of your husbands Black?
No, the last one was white.
Really? So you wiped out the 2 Black ones, so you're like, let me try a white one. And you
I know, I thought maybe that was it. I didn't know that was not it. It was just me, boo-boo. It was just me. I am on fire, and I'm here to serve, and ain't nobody going to get in my way. You're either going to support me and move with me, or you're going to have to step aside.
Do you have children?
I do. Phenomenal children. I have a 23-year-old son who has a computer science degree. He graduated in June in the pandemic. I have a 22-year-old daughter who is about to graduate from Harvard in economics. And I have a 13-year-old daughter who is a polymath and plays 8 instruments and sings with perfect pitch, as a composer and an engineer. Amazing.
And so you have children by all 3 husbands?
No, I didn't make one with the white man.
Oh, no. So let me ask.
I'm just gonna leave that there.
So you're into understanding microaggression. Were you microaggressive with these men?
I would say that if I got aggressive, I was aggressive. I'm not subtle. There's nothing subtle about me.
Right.
So I'm the kind of person who will speak their mind. The nature of microaggression. So I study organizational development, and that's my 4th book that I've written. My books have been on issues of bias, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and justice, right?
Yeah.
So microaggressions are the manifestation of our own biases, whether conscious or unconscious. So I would say that yes, my microaggressions in the direction of my husband's would have been made manifest from my buying into some of the narratives about the expectations of what a husband is supposed to be. So I think that I overlaid my assumptions, my stereotypes, and what I expected, rather than allowing those people to be who they are and create agreements that worked for us. Amazing. So I would say that, yes, I made assumptions and that didn't work out.
Are you a Christian?
Yeah, I was raised Roman Catholic, but I would say I'm just kind of generally spiritual. But yes, Jesus Christ is my man.
You also are a diversity, equity, and inclusion leader. Can you explain to me what is that and how does that work?
Yeah, so that means that, again, my focus, my learning laboratory is the workplace. So I roll into organizations and I ensure that Black people, that people of color, that women, that gender minorities, that sexual minorities, that people with disabilities are being treated respectfully and appropriately and fairly within the context of the workplace. Protected categories are protected for a reason. And a lot of people are, when people are actually keen on hiring folks from these demographics, because that's the first hurdle, a lot of organizations don't have any of these folks represented. If they actually do hire folks from underrepresented demographics, a lot of people will hire and then tokenize, hire and then tell them to go sit down and shut up. We got you for the picture on the annual report. We got you for the picture on the website. Now don't contribute. And those microaggressions are not at all insignificant. Like people are making stereotypes and talking about how people talk, how people dress, making racial implications and comments, things that are inappropriate in the world, much less the workplace. So my job is to go in and I quantify, like I do metrics. And my company is the only company that can actually quantify diversity, equity, and inclusion, and then create a metrics-based accountability system for making sure that we close the gap, because Black people in companies all across this country and all around the world are often having a very different experience from white people in companies. And even if you just look at the organizational chart, you often have the most diversity at the bottom of the pyramid, and the higher up you go, the more white and the more male the organization becomes. That's not always happening on purpose, but that fact limits the ability of Black men and women and Hispanic men and women and queer men and women to have the opportunity to be successful, to thrive, to feed their families, and to live into their best lives. So my job is to knock down those barriers and make sure that people are having an equitable experience.
Amazing. I know truckloads of businessmen and women, but mostly men around the country that they don't want to hire Black people. Foreigners who have come here as well, they don't like hiring Black people because the Blacks are so much trouble. They are always complaining. They show up late. They think that everything is racism. Anytime you have to correct them. And so a lot of companies don't like hiring the Blacks. And they also are concerned that when they let them go, they're going to be sued for being called racist, right? Because the Blacks think everything is racist. And so they are trying to avoid hiring Black people. So if you don't correct the Blacks, why would anybody want to be bothered with them?
So ascribing those particular attributes to Black people only is super problematic, because you get people of all races in organizations who complain, who show up late, who don't do their job, who sue you when you mistreat them. So those are not characteristics of Black people.
But it's well and alive in the Black folks, though.
Well, it is well and alive in all folks. That is well and alive in all folks. Listen, I'm an organizational development specialist. I have a doctorate of management in organizational development. I'm in organizations all over the world. And I can tell you that statistically speaking, all over the world, those are management issues that show up in all races, in all genders, and in all sexual orientations. They show up across the board. And what you're describing is the conscious bias of ostensibly white people you're talking about, who don't know how to communicate with, lead, manage, or interact with Black people across differences and inspire the kind of behavior that they're looking for. You've got to actually create a culture of intention and decide how you want people to feel and experience their day-to-day work life. And if you can't create that sense of belonging, that sense of engagement, that sense of inspiration, then you are every bit as much culpable for how people are showing up in the workplace.
But why not train the Blacks how to act rather than
what you're saying right now is illegal.
Rather than putting the responsibility on the owner of the company?
No, that's what you just said is illegal.
Why is that?
You cannot train the Blacks.
Why not?
That's not, you have, if you are offering training, you have to train everyone. You can't make assignments by race like that. There are laws that protect against isolating groups for purposes like that. You can't do, that's like, you can't just hire people. You can't hire people because of their race, because of their gender.
Well, no, I'm not talking about the company training them. Why don't your job, why don't you switch your role rather than putting that responsibility on the companies? Why not train the Blacks how to work? How to act at work?
That is an absurd notion.
Oh, why it's hard to train them?
No, that is because that's not that is, so we offer leadership and management training for people regardless of race. I don't if we go into a company and we have problems with leadership and management and we've got folks who things that need to be addressed, we address them, but that is never, ever done along racial lines, along gender lines, along lines of sexual orientation. What you're talking about is a very illegal practice.
Amazing. You are the CEO of TMI. What is TMI?
TMI Consulting. It is a consulting firm.
Oh, that's what you do. You go around and help the bosses, this owner, with these people, how to treat these people.
I got you. Yes, I make sure that employees are being treated with respect, and that institutions are mined of their institutional bias and their discriminatory practices.
Joe Biden said he want to put Blacks, Native Americans, I think that's the Indians, Latinos, and women first. Is that bias against white men to do that?
No, what he is doing is he is trying to create balance and equity.
Is that bias against white men to do that?
No, white men have the automatic advantage, the automatic unearned advantage.
Is that inclusive of white men?
White men, let's go through the government. Let's go through the entire United States government across all 50 states and count the number of white people and white men, and then tell me whether or not that's exclusive of white men.
So you
Who
think
predominates the roles in the United States government, in the federal government, and all 50 states? White people are not being discriminated against in government jobs.
So you think that it's okay to skip over the white men and put all these other folks in front of them?
I think that white men have ample opportunity to be successful in every aspect of American life and work.
I mean, you're right in that white people, especially white men, are more aggressive. They tend to go after what they want. They build. They don't blame others for their downfall, for their weakness. They tend to conquer their weakness and overcome. So white, because if you notice,
you're ascribing a lot of virtuous values to white men, and in many cases, those things can very well be true. But our entire economic and societal structure has been created and formed and supported in a way that makes it easy for white men to enjoy those advantages. They're not like inherent. White men don't have a special magical license on power and strength and on the ability to overcome. They absolutely do complain. Hello, everyone complains. That's part of being human. So there's the water that white men are swimming in favors them, so those things are easier.
But the reason
it's not
for
that's not something inherent.
But the reason for that is because, as you know, white men founded and discovered the greatest country in the world, America, right? And so they made it.
They discovered it. It wasn't here before white men got here.
No, and they created the greatest country on this side of heaven, right? And so naturally,
they created it.
Yeah.
There was nothing here before white men got here?
When the Indian was here, but they were smoking pot and doing nothing with the land.
They were protecting the land.
They were out killing animals.
Preserving the land.
They were killing animals and smoking pot. But let me ask.
So wait, are you a vegan?
No, I love animal meat.
So they were killing animals,
but
they
weren't
were
making it great. They were just out here running around being crazy.
Oh, but that's some real disrespectful stuff that you just said. Every indigenous person on every continent begs to differ that they were there and that they were stewards of the land. They were much better stewards of the land. That just sounds pretty.
That's not reality. But let me ask, that sound pretty. They were stewards of the land. That wasn't reality.
Hold on. We ain't had no environmental crisis when the Native Americans were in charge.
Amazing. Because they didn't do anything.
We have destroyed the lands. Huh?
They didn't do it. So if they were so smart, why there are parts of the country that the white man has given over to the Indian? Y'all can have it, go build casinos, and all they're doing now is making money, getting high and doing dope and killing one another.
If I stick you out in the barren desert, kill all of the animal livestock that you sustained on, and don't give you any support and resources and take everything away from you, that's not an opportunity to succeed. I give you a sandbox and I say, why did you not build a mansion out of this sandbox?
And why didn't they? If they were so smart, why wouldn't they take a sandbox and build a mountain out of it?
Oh, God,
that's what smart people do. Look at the white folks.
It's not about intelligence.
Look at the white people. They take a sandbox and build a mountain out of it. And then they let the blacks and the Indians and the homosexuals come in and they destroy the mountain.
Are you a comedian? You are so funny. You are just killing me. This is so funny. Oh my God.
I'm telling the truth.
What?
If you notice, the white people give up their communities to the blacks and the Indians and others, and beautiful communities.
Wait. What white people gave up their, if the land belonged to the indigenous people, white people didn't give up anything. They stole all of the land out from underneath.
Not true.
My brother, come on now. I don't think I can call you my brother.
It's totally not true.
Huh?
That's not true about they stole the land. That's a myth that's been made up to divide. Give me, and I think you've already done it, but just to be clear, give me an example of a subtle act of exclusion.
Reaching out and touching, sticking your hands up in a black person's afro.
I wouldn't take that risk. They had too nappy.
Their hair. Are you not black?
Right, but I don't have an afro. I have an Amerifro. Is it microaggression for me, a black man, to speak Spanish like "Hola, mamma mia"?
Yeah.
Gracias.
Uh-huh.
How is that microaggression?
Because you're making fun of people who speak Spanish or speak with Spanish accents.
No, it's fun. Hola.
Yeah, but it's insulting if you're a person who is of Spanish speaking, who speaks Spanish as a first language.
Really? Why? The
Because you're
Spanish
making
people
fun.
love to hear me speak Spanish.
Right. Well, if you're speaking actual Spanish, that's fine. But what you just did sounded like a comedy routine, like you were making fun. And when you make fun of people for who they are, that is unkind. That is not something Christ would do. Christ would never mock a person's accent.
My gardener is Mexican. And so when I see him, I go, "Hola, gracias."
That is very unkind.
He laugh about it, though. It's no big deal.
Yes, because you have the power. You pay him, and he's not going to insult you. He will take your insults, but he will not insult you. It's unkind. And as a Christian man, and someone who advises in this space, I would advise you to stop doing that. It's unkind.
Really?
Yes.
Is it microaggression if a white woman call a black man articulate?
Yes.
Why?
Because I'll use myself as an example, right? I do public speaking for a living, among other things. So when a white person says, "Oh my gosh, I loved your talk. You were so articulate," it's a compliment. It's not about your intent. They were actually saying something kind. They're saying you speak well. The problem is if a white man who is also the CEO of one or more companies gets up and talks, articulate is not a word they're going to use for him because they're going to assume that he already knows how to speak. Calling a black person articulate exposes your own unconscious bias that you expect black people to be less than, that you expect black people to speak in a way that is not what you just heard. And you're like, wow, that black person can speak English properly. That's insulting.
I have a black employee, Joel. He black. He speak like a white person.
That's a thing.
And you speak white too.
I've heard that my entire life.
And so you don't mind when they say you're very articulate?
No, I will let them know that I will thank them. Thank you very much. And I like to use teachable moments. And I'll just say, you might not want to say that to any other black people because the assumption is that you thought that I was not capable of speaking. I'm a professional speaker with an MBA and a doctorate degree. I own a company and have owned many. Of course I know how to talk. I'm a writer. I'm a public speaker. So telling me that I know how to talk is not a compliment. It's an insult.
But when I hear you, I'm like, wow, she sounds very white.
I thank you, I think. I mean, if you want me to code switch, brother, I'm right here with you and we can go there.
See that?
That's all good.
Now you're at home. You're home.